Good morning, everybody. Today's sermon is called The Voice, the American Singing Competition. The Voice has aired on TV since 2011 and is aimed to find unsigned singing talents. Contestants are selected through public auditions and trained by a panel of 4 coaches who guide and critique their performance as they attempt to discover America's next great voice. The US $100,000 record deal winner will be determined by television viewers, voting by telephone, internet, texting, and store purchases. I watched the first episode on the internet, and where the legendary Tom Jones spoke the first line. It says that it's all on the strength of your voice, of the voice. The voice competition is not unlike other singing competitions because the 4 coaches will not get to look at the contestants. Their chairs are placed facing away from the contestants so that they can see what going to hear the voice rather than see their faces being too short, too old, too fat, or too any other thing. And when the coach likes the singing voice, the coach will press a button and swing his or her chair around to see the singer. But if everybody likes the singer, the singer gets to choose who will be the coach. And at the end of it, announcer says, nothing matters, only the voice counts. Now, in Revelation 14, before this, we took at the first 11 chapters of Revelation 11, focus on earth. The beast and the dragon make their mark in the last 2 chapters in Revelation 12 and 13. Now, chapter 14 is about the Lamb of God victorious. And in Revelation 14, the noun voice occurs 4 times alone in verse 2. As many as 9 times in the chapter. Verse 2, 4 times. Verse 7, verse 9, verse 13, 15, and 18. More than any other chapter in the Bible. The voice includes verse 2 and 9, a voice from heaven. Verse 2, the voice of many waters. Verse 2, the voice of great thunder. Verse 7, verse 5, verse 18, a loud voice 3 times. And as you study Revelation, we ask these questions. How is God present in our suffering? How would you feel when the Lord returns? Are you delighted or are you dismayed? How do you distinguish between faithful believers and from fake believers? Who should we rightfully fear? The beast, the dragon, or the great persecution that is to come? Now, the first point I want to say about Revelation 14 is that we have to attest him in praise. We have to witness him in praise. Attest. Verses 1 onwards. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb, standing on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven like the roar of rushing waters, and like a loud peal of thunder. The sound I heard was like that of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a new song before the throne and before the 4 living creatures and the elders. No one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. These are those who did not defile themselves with women, for they kept themselves pure. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were purchased from among men and offered as first fruits to God and the Lamb. No lie was found in their mouths, they are blameless. Then I saw another angel flying in mid-air, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim those who live on the earth. Proclaim to every nation, tribe, language, and people. He said in this loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. And today we talk about attest him in song, in praise. How will you describe a good song? Yeah, here are some internet suggestions. A good song is one which is liked by many. Another one, a good song is a perfect marriage of the lyrics and the music. A good song is for life, not just for release day. Number 4, a good song is a song that makes a claim on us, that gives us pleasure for as long as it lasts. Next one, a good song is one that should move your soul and never lose their quality. A good song is one that provides listeners with a good experience. A good song is one when people hear it, they stop and get involved. Chapter 14 is the return of the 144,000 from chapter 6. And John here heard a loud voice, 3 times the voice. But the voice is not any voice, but it's a new song. Now the phrase new song occurs twice in the New Testament, but only in Revelation. This new song is different from the new song in chapter 5 in that it is an unknown song. No matter how much training you have, the tune that you can carry, and the technology you have, you cannot learn the song because verse 3 is a new song. And the song is about the passion of those who are saved, those who are sanctified, and those who are surrendered to Him. The song is not determined by the music, by the melody, major or minor key, because we don't have the score. It's about the song, not the singers. It's about the choir and their chorus. It's about the lyrics and the lives of the singers. In verse 4, there's the word purchase. The more regular verb for purchase is bought. You are redeemed. Church purchase means you are bought at a high cost. You are bought, God bought you with a hefty price. God bought you, Jesus Christ bought you with a heavy sacrifice. Jesus paid the debt, He paid the ransom, and He paid the cost for you. And verse 4 reveals the redeemed person's relationship with others and then within themselves and lastly with God. For others, these are people who did not defile themselves with women. Others, for themselves, for they kept themselves pure for themselves. The word defile, verse 4, or blacken is from the word ink in 2 Corinthians 3:3. That means you are not ink, you are not tainted, you are not tarnished, or you are not tripped by the things of the world. And verse 4, they says that these are the people who follow the Lamb wherever He goes. Then these people, they have no reservation, no reluctance, or no reticence with the Lamb. And verse 5 tells about these people, they are blameless. It means sometimes it's translated in the Bible as without blemish, without rebuke, without spot, or without fault. That means they are not, doesn't mean that they are without sin, but they're without stain. Doesn't mean that they're without mistake, but they are without misbehavior. Doesn't mean that they're without complications, but it means that they have Christ in their lives. And there are 3 imperatives in verse 7. Fear, give glory, and worship. And what are the difference? Fear has to do with an attitude, with our heart, and in our being. Give glory means we give our attribution to God. It's from our mouth, it's for our belongings, what we have. Worship is in our act, it is on our knees, and worship is from the beginning to our Creator. And not only Revelation talk about we have to attest Him or witness Him in praise, we have to, these are the people who abound in perseverance. When we go to trouble, we have to abound in perseverance. Verse 8, a second angel followed and said, Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, which made all the nations drink the maddening wine of her adulteries. A third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives his mark on the forehead or on the hand, he too will drink of the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of His wrath. He will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb. Verse 11, and the smoke of their torment rises forever and ever. There is no rest day or night for those who worship the beast and his image, or for anyone who receives the mark of his name. This calls for patient endurance on the part of the saints who obey God's commands and remain faithful to Jesus. Then I heard a loud voice from heaven say, Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labor, for their deeds will follow them. Have you known some of the most painful conditions? A website tells us 9 of the most painful conditions. Number 9, kidney stones. Number 8, chronic lower back pain. Number 7, damage to the nerves outside the brain and the spinal cord. Number 6, cancer pain. Number 5, shingles. Number 4, facial pain from a few seconds to about 2 minutes. Number 3, you have inflamed bladder. Number 2, twisted ankle or broken arm. And the worst pain is cluster headaches. Now the Bible tells us our present troubles, no matter how severe, are sufferable compared to the future travail that we will have. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. In chapter 14, the word fallen in verse 8. Fallen is Babylon the Great. Fallen is a very common verb that seems to occur more times in Revelation than any book in the Bible. In fact, out of the 91 times it's in the Bible, 23 of them is in Revelation, which is 1/4. And only in Revelation is the verb repeated fallen twice. Fallen is Babylon the Great. And both also in reference to Babylon. Fallen means that Babylon will be demoted, they will be derailed, and they will be deposed. In verses 8 to 10, it talks about the wine of the wrath of God. It's repeated. Now, wrath appear 18 times in the Bible, and out of them 10 times in Revelation, more than half. And in this chapter alone, it appears in verse 8, verse 10, and verse 9. How bad is the wrath of God? Verse 10 tells us it is full strength or without mixture, kratos, without any mixture. It means that the wrath of God is doubly thick, is deadly toxic, and is durably torturous forever and ever. Some say the wrath of God is the judgment of God. Some say it's the vengeance of God, and some say it's the holiness of God. Famous preacher A.W. Pink says, the wrath of God is the holiness of God stirred into activity against sin. And more important, the wrath of God is directed against those who refuse Him, those who renounce Him, and those who revile Him. The outcome is destruction, devastation, and desolation, and ever more damage to people. In verse 10, the word torment occurs more times in the book of Revelation than any book in the Bible. It's translated as torment, it's translated as toss, vex, and pain. It means that God's enemies will toss to and fro. They'll be turned upside down and they'll be torn inside and out. And the word burning sulfur or fire and brimstone is first recorded in Sodom and Gomorrah. And the elements in sulfur, the dangers in the cause of breathing disorder is a cause of corrosive, explosive gas and fumes. The deadly thing in fire and brimstone is actually in the gas and the fumes. And verse 11, there's the noun version of the torments. Just now was the verb, but the noun is in verse 11. It occurs exclusively in Revelation, and mostly with the torment of Babylon. Torment is not just trouble, but torture. It will be unpleasant, unpalatable, and unparalleled. The soreness will be extreme, excruciating, and on the exterior. And by the way, the word pain is not mentioned until chapter 16. And verse 13 tells that we will have peace. Believers will have peace, a peace of the dead people from their labors. It means that there will be assurance of comfort, care, and compensation for all that we have gone through. And the third thing is that not only a test in praise, abound in perseverance, but to abide in God's peace. Verse 14, and I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like a son of man. with a crown of gold on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Then another angel came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was sitting on the cloud, "Take your sickle and reap, because the time to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." So he who was sitting on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. Another angel came out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel who had the charge of the fire came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle, "Take your sharp sickle and gather those clusters of grapes from the earth's vine, because its grapes are ripe." The angel swung his sickle on the earth, gathered grapes, and threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath. They were trampled in the winepress outside the city, and the blood flowed out of the press, rising as high as the horses' bridles for a distance of 1,600 stadia. I'm not sure if you learn of the heavyweight boxer Leon Spinks, and who's famous for defeating Muhammad Ali in 1978. Leon Spinks died not too long ago at the age of 67. And George Foreman, who is also one of the renowned fighters of that day, visited Spinks and talked about Spinks. His most fascinating picture is about Spinks' famous gap tooth. So whenever we visit Spinks, he would always flash his famous gap tooth, even when he was sick, in a very, very delightful and a very, very joyous way. Now, not because Spinks was not suffering, but he experienced a lot of difficulties in his life. He had drug, alcohol abuse, financial problems, and his son was murdered. And in the last 5 years of his life, Spinks was hospitalized multiple times with a lot of medical issues, including prostate cancer. But this is what Foreman said about Spinks. Spinks had the greatest gift, the smile. No one took that away from him. I can even say that he had a life of tragedy, when in reality he had the greatest gift, the smile. He could have let tragedy be a story, but that was not the story at all. I was at the Boxing Hall of Fame and I said, wow, he was there. He made everyone feel good about being there. Always willing to stop and give you a smile and not hold on to your ear, and especially not complain. Never did he any complaints. Brothers and sisters, we wait for the day when the Son of Man will come in clouds with great power and glory. Except this time in Revelation, he comes with a new thing, a golden crown and a sharp sickle. So there are three things associated with the Son of Man when he comes. There's a white cloud, there's a golden crown, and there's a sharp sickle. Now let's talk about the cloud, okay? The cloud word occurs 25 times in the Bible. This is the only instance it's about a white cloud. Clouds are always positive in the New Testament, never anything negative associated with it. And the two phrases, cloud and the Son of Man, are associated with his coming with great power and glory. And power and great glory. The great and power are always exchanged with the word glory. And the Son of Man comes, he will display and demonstrate his might, his majesty. He will demonstrate superiority and his splendor, his greatness and glory. White is for fairest of all, faultless and faithful Son of Man. Second thing he comes is that he'll come with a golden crown. The crown occurs 18 times in the Bible. 8 times of it is in Revelation. And in the Gospels, the only kind of crown is the crown of suffering, crown of thorns that Jesus wore. But in Revelation, you have the golden crown. Occurs only in Revelation, as many as 3 times. The crown is for royalty, reverence, and rule. Golden means that it is exquisite, expensive, and extravagant. That's how Jesus Christ will come. Now the third object when he comes, it will be the sickle. Okay, the sickle is repeated an astonishing 7 times Here in verse 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 twice, and 19. And 3 times the word sickle is added with the adjective sharp. Verse 14, 17, and twice in verse 18. What is the sickle? When you have the sickle, it's meant to swing. It's meant to slash. It's meant to slice with proficiency, with precision, and professionalism when the Lord comes. Sharp means that it will be dangerous, it will be direct, and it will be damaging. In association with the word sickle will be imperative, take, or sometimes translates trust. Verse 14 and 18. Trust your sickle, take your sickle. Trust means to extend it further, exert it stronger, execute it sharper. And verses 15 and 18 will be the word ripe. When the Lord comes, he will be ripe for harvest. And verse 18 is not only ripe, but is fully ripe. Ripe means that no time to lose, not a moment too soon, never a better time when he comes. Not so soon, not too slow, not too sudden. That means the harvest is ready to be cut, to be collected and consumed, to be chopped, canned, and chucked to the ground. So, brothers and sisters, the conclusion is this. The Lord will ask, who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom the Lord the Master puts in charge of the servants to give them food allowance at the proper time? When the Lord comes, will he find you? Would he find you true to him? Would he find you be testifying to him? And would he find you to be triumphant in him? Remember, Revelation chapter 14 tells us the Lord will never disappoint us. He will never desert us. He will never deny us. So, brothers and sisters, we must be strong. May the Lord find us faithful in temptations and trials. May the Lord find us faithful through thick and thin. And may the Lord find us faithful time after time. Be blessed, my brothers.